everyone. Welcome to Top Deck Heroes again.
Welcome to the show.
Tonight we have our normal host, myself, Sean O'Brien, and we have Matt and Hughes combined in one location.
Matt and Hughes?
Combined with Kevin Grover in one location, in fact.
See, I delivered it the first time flawlessly until you forgot to hit the stream button.
Yep. I did hit a button. I hit the record button.
So we got a couple of things to cover tonight. We had some new promos spoiled this last week, the March and April promos. We're going to talk about power creep, concern that actually ties really well into one of the promos. We're going to talk about that in great deal. We're going to have Kevin's top 5. And then, of course, at the end of the show, our upcoming events and announcements. So, Matt, would you like to cue up the first new promo, Act of Treason?
Yep. Act of Treason. Can I read it?
If you want to.
Cards. It's a 2/5 with Death, Earth, and Water Foundation. Remove 1 reversal from your discard pile. Remove 1 foundation in your opponent's staging area. Love this card.
It's a card with costs. I love cards with costs.
Yeah, I like how it's got a really unique cost. You know, it's got Jada's forms cost, enhances cost rather, and you can. I mean, it fits on a lot of. It's not impossible to meet that requirement to have reversals in your deck, but you don't necessarily have them in your discard pile. You don't necessarily check them on turn 2. And on the other hand, I don't like that it dodges all of the anti-Cat Force stuff. Like, you can cack your opponent's Astute Observer. It's kind of brutal.
I thought Astute Observer couldn't be removed from your staging area.
I think it's you can't be destroyed. I could be wrong.
Well,
it doesn't trigger Astute Observer. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so... Well, it can't... I don't think it can target Astute
Can't be
Observer.
destroyed.
Oh, okay, so it can target Astute Observer.
Yep.
So... Well,
it's definitely a powerful card. It answers some things.
I like that... sorry to interrupt, but I like that conveniently we just got a nice reversal with all 3 symbols on that the previous month.
Well, they are... I mean, some of these cards are spoilers from the new Red Horizon set. This one is not. Only the attacks are previews from the upcoming Red Horizon set. What I like about this card is that guy's one gigantic eye.
Yeah, that art.
I mean, he seems very surprised to be kissing this girl.
I didn't even realize the eye was there, and now that's bothering me.
Yeah, right? It doesn't look like an eye. The way it's set in is it even a guy? Like, it looks like Sheena from Tales of Symphonia.
Well, I'm wondering, first of all, a couple questions about this art. Who is that guy that Vespera is making out with here? And is this involved with the whole story thing where she's a spider instead of a succubus? Which we knew something happened where she lost her wings. And considering the card's name, this is likely something to be involved.
If I were at my computer, I'd be posting a link to Sheena from Tales of Symphonia right now, and it's the same person.
I don't know. All I know is I'm a bit upset that this doesn't work anywhere close to Active Treason from Magic.
Darn.
I want to gain control of my opponent's attack.
But that card's called Threaten.
It's also called Active Treason.
All right, let's pretend we're not silly and switch to the top cuts prize for this coming month's support.
Whoop. Spine Sweep. Oh, this card's ridiculous. It's a 5/3, 4 low for 5, +1 high block, Chaos, Earth, and Fire, weapon. Destroy up to 2 assets, because that's fair.
For free, it's even freer than spinning Necro Driver.
Yeah, it's not even a first D.
Not a first D. This is Joe said in their preview video that this is designed to be a sideboard card. I think it's pretty interesting, I guess, to give your sideboard cards +1 high blocks, no cost, and a low zone with decent attack damage.
Yeah, no, I would probably main deck this card. Like, I could easily see slotting 2 copies of this card in the Snake Man.
Doesn't the promo Satoshi have fire?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, he does.
So you can first form, play this effectively for free,
Yep.
Well,
destroy your
difficulty,
opponent's
hard difficulty.
assets, take it out of the card pool, and draw a card.
Yep.
That seems like all upside to me.
Well, there is a cost. I mean, you're paying 5 difficulty. You know, you can fail that. You can tap half your board out if it's turn 2 or
I
something.
mean, it's
you are throwing a card away.
like it's a low and 5 damage.
I know.
Like,
I mean, I think the numbers are great on it, regardless of its ridiculous ability to set Kim and Athena back in the Stone Age.
Yeah, like this card is just an enormous. I don't like this card because I wish Bishaban were good. I wish like, and yeah, I know I have a deck that's kind of broken that this card's designed to destroy, but I wish it weren't this way.
Yeah, because Bishaban's whole thing where he's supposed to be kind of cool because he's supposed to be able to tap his assets like they were foundations, and that's great. Except we don't have an attack in this format that's like free destroy up to 2 foundations. One card where you do get to destroy 2 foundations is you have to combo a kick before it. Have a momentum, and your opponent gets to destroy 2 of yours too.
Yeah.
And the thing that I guess the thing that really bugs me about this is that it's not it's narrow enough. It's not flexible and wide. Like it's only good in some situations. And so, and it's also not only that it's only good against some situations, against cards that are often too powerful, like that are overwhelming. Like I have a Hanya in play, and I have some other really good defensive asset. Like I have Clark Sunglass in order deck. It's hopeless to attack into that, and you need this card in that kind of situation. But then, if you can't find it, you're going to have a miserable time, and it's just kind of a pendulum swing back and forth. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll talk a little bit about that later on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next month's support.
Remembrance. It's a 2/5 all Chaos Void Foundation +3 low block. E commit. This attack gets safe. And E your turn destroy. Draw 1 card. Only playable while committed. There's one thing I want to bring up about this because I didn't read the thread to resolution. But some people were saying that this card may not actually work as intended.
Yeah,
because safe stops working.
Yeah, so the explanation there is that attacks get, I believe, called refreshed after during the step called after they resolve, which happens immediately after the damage step, and the reversal keyword happens after the attack resolves, which is again after the damage step. So the attack loses all abilities that it gained when it's refreshed, as well as resetting its attack speed and damage, that kind of stuff. So when your opponent has a chance to play a reversal, it's already lost the safe keyword, or so the argument goes. And that's a glitch in the rules, I think.
Yeah. I can't imagine that they intended for an attack to no longer be safe after the damage step. And there's some who can argue, that if an attack has safe, says this attack can't have a reversal to it. But when cards lose keywords, for example, if someone plays a Concussion Blast with Flash, and you respond with a Kapoken Training, the card loses skip this attack's enhance step. And you can enhance like normal.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we can't have it both. It's going to be interesting because we can't have it both ways.
I think this card was it was designed without thinking about how safe exactly works. I think it was just a mistake in how the card was made.
Yeah, it's pretty clearly like they invented the safe keyword and they read A Matter of Heads and Tails and said, this should just be safe. But we're not going to errata it. It's going to do erratas. But if we make a new card in the future that we want to occupy similar spaces as A Matter of Heads and Tails, then we'll give it safe. It will say it has gained safe, just like this card. And it was just a mistake when the rules were made that how refresh and that stuff would interact.
Right.
I also like this card, though, because it's a low block for 2 symbols that need lows. Chaos and Void.
And drawing a card is
really good. Design flaws.
Yeah. Having these on your kill turns, pass them for checks, blow them up for more cards. Seems pretty good.
It's fine.
Who is the person on the art is what I want to know.
Who knows?
Who knows? The art is
New
interesting because it looks like
character.
the character was just pasted on a random background. He looks like very one-dimensional in front of. Like, the character's one-dimensional, but he's put on there in such a way that he might be looking more dimensional. I don't know. It just looks weird to me.
Yeah, I see your point. I've seen this done before. In fact, it's how I've done all of my cards because I don't have actual backgrounds with some of my artwork for my custom cards I've been making.
So, do you think this card would have been good in Giggles' deck when he was fighting Garrett Brett in the
Oh,
finals?
God, yes.
The deck that plays 6 attacks a turn? I think that you can't give them all save.
Yeah, but you can give the right one save. It's something. It's something that definitely would have helped. And it also would have helped him. It would help just Snakeband players in general against a couple other matchups where they're playing against other lows, because Chaos has like basically no low blocks.
You clearly haven't played Chaos recently.
Has
All
no
right,
low
gentlemen,
blocks
let's
on
move
good
on
cards.
to
It's got the best
Blaze
lock in the
Whip.
game.
Blaze Whip. Woo! I love the art on this card.
So, Blaze Whip, go ahead and read it, Hughes,
Yep.
and I'll give you my opinion about it.
It's a 3/3, 3 low for 3, +2 high block, Death Good Order, ranged keyword. Commit 1 foundation. If this attack is blocked, your opponent adds 1 foundation from their staging area to their card pool. Mini Blazing Storm, go!
Yeah, it looks like they took Blazing Storm and castrated it and sent it out to pasture and seen what happened.
And it's still too good.
No, this card's
No.
totally fair.
Yeah,
I'm glad you like it, Matt.
I like the card. I also want to play this off of Death with Shield Rams. It's a nice, decent range thing.
You know what's a damn shame, Hughes?
Hmm.
It only has one keyword.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't gonna bring that up. I mean, to be fair, Order has more than enough multi-keyword attacks for Rain Flush. The problem is its foundation base.
Hmm.
It's got a bunch of really stellar good things, but it doesn't have enough
Sorry.
things.
Yeah, most order decks I think play 4 basic trainings because you kind of need to fill out cards.
Yep.
So it looks like in the art here, it's Lily fighting Satoshi, I think that is. I'm not used to seeing Satoshi kind of upside down like that, but I see his scarf and his little hat, so I'm guessing it's him.
The hot crotch shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it could be Super
You know,
Skullman.
you gotta get that fan service in.
I think that's Super Skullman. I think I agree with Kevin.
You can see the
You know,
skull
you're
when it
right. I
flips
think it
upside
is.
down.
Yeah, we
Now
have the
that-
option of flipping it upside down.
That's pretty gas. Unlike this card, which unfortunately is not very good.
Interesting.
Kevin,
All
ruining my fun.
I mean, I've played a lot of 3 difficulty 3 damage attacks in my day, and committing foundation is not part of my like MO with that. It's not where you want to be.
No, you don't want to commit foundations. You
Or
need
in
those
other
to
words-
pass the rest of your 3 damage attacks.
I just imagine playing this card and committing foundation, and then playing a shield ram and checking it 2, and then like I just have nothing because I committed my foundation already for no gain because they just took 3.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. So
Right.
let's move on to our main story tonight. And I believe Spine Sweep is kind of what got us wanting to talk about this.
Yep.
And that's power creep.
It's gotta happen eventually.
Give us just give the viewers out there a brief explanation of what power creep is.
So power creep is kind of the phenomenon where cards just keep getting better than each other. So over time, the designers of a card game decide we want to make this new card more powerful and more exciting, or just more exciting and different than they have been in the past. And either deliberately or on accident, each card that progressively comes out, each release, the best cards are better than they were ever before. And pretty soon you just have a game that's completely unrecognizable if you leave for 2 years and come back, because things are just like the things you used to do 2 years ago are completely irrelevant in the face of these new cards that have power creeped and become more powerful than they ever were before.
So I think the example we want to talk about was Spinning Necro Driver versus Spine Sweep.
Yeah.
Excellent examples of power creep here.
Yeah. I mean, that's power creep in a way. Like, I'd actually say that's pretty close between the two, in my opinion, because Necrodriver can give multiple.
Yeah, like in a vacuum, Necrodriver is a relatively weak card because 3 damage is tiny.
Yeah.
But then you have cards like, I mean, Dimitri easily puts him at 7, and then multiple 1/7 damage attack is very, very good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, definitely stat wise, I think. I guess I'm very partial to multiple in general and throw, being my 2 favorite keywords.
Yeah, I rate the high block very highly. Like I play lucky in a lot of decks just because I really like having high blocks that I can actually succeed.
Yeah, there is that +1 high block. That's
and like force speed low is it's good at getting through, especially
it's comparatively just as good as a throw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, the fact that it's a low so makes it good. It's me being partial to multiple, but that +1 high block probably ends up putting this card over the top.
And I mean, the obvious thing that we haven't talked about is simply that this card destroyed 2 assets. So not only do you take away potentially the best card in your opponent's staging area, because assets, as a rule, have to be more powerful than foundations. They do something different than foundations. This card destroys, like, it's a 3-for-1. If it's a worthwhile attack, and it also takes away 2 of your cards, imagine playing a 5 hand size character, dropping 2 assets, plus foundation, which is toward the upper limit of what your build turns look like. Now this card can take away 2/3 of your turn for only 1 card on its own.
Yeah, I guess for me, that blowing up 2 assets hasn't mattered that much, because really your deck has been the only one that's played more than 1 asset out on me.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't play assets.
Yeah.
The thing is, if we go back a little ways to when the last set of champ cards are out, people were playing a shitload of assets all the time.
Yeah, nailed
Those
it.
Assets were really,
napkin.
really powerful.
Yeah. They had to be powerful.
Well, they had to be powerful because of Spinning Necro Driver.
Yep. Yeah, and that's exactly it. Is that you say they had to be powerful before people would play them. Well, that either means that they were weak cards and poorly designed, or else the hate cards were too powerful that were around. And I think Spinning Necro Driver was too ubiquitous. Everyone wanted to play it because throws were great. You could damage pump it for free. This card, I think, won't be everywhere, but when it is, if you're stupid enough to put 2 different assets in your deck.
I mean, Hungry Nerd in the chat points out maybe there are more powerful assets coming, and this is kind of preemptively. Yeah. I mean, they might just be preemptively giving this to us. Be like, hey, maybe we're making a Lion's Dance in the next set.
Yeah, but now there's just so many assets that were that are mediocre or fill a niche that no one's just ever going to play.
Yeah, you get into this trap where you have to print an asset. You have to say, I want my asset to be playable, and so you make it better than a foundation, rather than simply making it different than a foundation and having it be of a similar power level, even though you can't tap it to pass a control check. Have it be an ability that if it's conditional, you can't always use it. It's very powerful. A card like that is Grandmother's Hairpin or Kyo's Jacket, or else you make it somehow act like a foundation in a different way, such as Superhero Know-How, where you can recheck, or else you can flip it and then just tap to pass control checks. It's actually a face-down foundation now, and cards like this just cut off that design space because now you can't make an asset that's just different than a foundation. It has to be powerful enough to be worth getting blown up by Spine Sweep, or worth the threat of Spine Sweep.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to imagine this card coming out kind of as a response to, powerful assets that are helping decks win games right now. Assets Athena comes to mind. Kim comes to mind. Kim really likes his assets.
Well, Kim really likes Team Kim. Then he'll play Dobok. He'll play Roll, because why not? Sure, they're fine.
Like, part of my fear is that these promos are just being used as knee-jerk reactions to people complaining, and I feel that could be a problem.
A knee-jerk reaction is the fastest way to get power creep. To say,
Mhm.
we're just gonna to fire from the hip, and we're gonna take out the problems in the format. We're gonna fix everything just like that, and not like be careful, not playtest the things necessarily,
Yeah,
not think about what kind of gameplay it promotes. Just about, well, can I beat this deck with this sideboard card?
yeah, because like everyone, the entire community, in some form, has been complaining about your deck, and then a month later, we see this card,
Well,
which
Shane Duckworth said it's just worse than Life Demetria. None of these assets target Life Demetria, as far as I know.
Yeah, I mean,
More
if Life
thoroughly.
Dimitri is a problem, does that mean next month we're going to have like a card that's like respond after your opponent flips one of your foundations on flip 2?
yeah,
That'd be great.
I mean, and then also, even though this remembrance doesn't quite work because the rules are broken, like a lot of people also complained about Navos reversing and just one-shotting people.
Yeah,
Like that also, like that card's also fair, and I think that's a good card to have in the format. But
yeah, it's a really fair cost
as long as it works,
to just commit, and then your opponent can't reversal you, and they just didn't have any reversals. You just spewed a foundation for no reason, and you feel safe, but you were safe in the first place in reality.
Well, I mean, the problem, you know, I've found a lot of times, and if we look at some of the characters recently that were banned, is a lot of the cards that are very powerful don't have costs. You look at Gemini Man. He had nothing on him had a cost.
Yep.
Your cost was block to draw a card, okay. And
yeah, costs, like, I mean, there's always what's called an opportunity cost, where any choice that you make, you're not playing something else. Like Gemini Man has a cost that you're not playing Athena, or like Skullman has a cost that, or any first E is a really good example, where any first E you use, you can't use a different first E. But none of these cards have first E's, and there aren't really any first E's in Standard right now.
mm-hmm.
But putting like a momentum cost, a destroy a foundation cost, anything like that, would have made this card like a little bit less disgusting, I guess. The cost of it is that you're playing just a basically vanilla attack in your deck. You know, you're playing a 5 difficulty, 5 damage, low attack, with no special keywords.
I mean,
except
people
for
have played
Yeah,
Irigiri in their decks.
yeah, like the fact that it has the weapon keyword can make it so in a certain deck types it could even slot in very well. Like I think this card could potentially be a 4 of in Swordman when he comes out.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the card is well statted. It's everything. Where I feel like with Spinning Necro Driver, you were playing a 3 damage move. I mean, regardless as to whether I had multiple or throw, it's still just an itty bitty little move. And like any move, it could become bigger, especially if you had Jack Lamborn in front of it.
Hi.
But
so yeah, I think like the opportunity cost of this card is there, especially if you like look at a chaos deck. You want to play Hyper Bomb. You want to play, you know, an actual, like, it's got a lot of utility attacks, like Yami Brian and stuff. Doesn't have a lot of finishers, and just being a deck of all value stuff isn't necessarily the best way to win a game. But when your opponent's actually going to sit down with assets, you really want to have it in your deck. And if you're digging for high blocks, maybe you swap a Magnet Slam out for this.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Magnet Slam's really good.
No, you're absolutely right.
Like, it's the reason why I want to play Order, because we have enough Chaos decks. I don't play all. I want to play Magnet Slam.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, look.
Go for it.
But yeah,
It's
things not having a cost I think is a huge cause of power creep in UFS. I mean,
absolutely.
The last block of champ cards, I think, was a great example of what happens when nothing has a cost. Because
they had costs where they're like commit, flip, like, or add to your hand. But then you got to, like, Napkin, it said add to your hand. It was a very special cost. But then it was secretly not a cost, because if you have to play a card at an 8 difficulty, you would bounce it, replay it have to hard check a 5, and then play your card on 8 difficulty, hard check a 5, and it passed.
Mm-hmm. Or like Garrett Brett's character card. I mean, that thing was super free. You had the cost of just
that was costs that aren't
Yeah.
costs. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was he had costs, and then he had so much text on there that he confused everyone and snuck in a thing that made it so his things no longer have costs.
And I think that the really great thing you can do is when you make a card that has unusual costs that is using a resource that's relatively untapped. When you have a card like Active Treason, I think that's a great card, and that has a cost that doesn't cost control checks or cards in your hand, which are kind of the two fundamental resources I think of UFS. Like control checks and damage really are the two base resources in my opinion.
Like I actually think of the 4 promos, Active Treason was the best designed. It's making me want to actually go and look at reversals on those symbols beyond just Spider Suplex.
I can tell you that Water and Death have cards that love getting fed to that. Sprague and Skull Barrier. Tiny.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I feel like that's kind of the way we seem to have gone in this last design cycle. Is a lot of abilities are super free. Gemini Man was free. Sprague and Skull Barrier both have super free abilities on them. Raiden's got a free ability printed on him.
Part of Kim is free.
Yeah. And that's not to say that everything has to have a cost. I like cards like the Human Weapon, for example, where it's free, but you have to have a specific circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Building cards that have costs makes the game a lot more interesting, I think, because some decks are better at paying costs than other decks. I mean, a really good example is just like Ryujin Kyaku, where it costs a combo kick plus a momentum, and a lot of decks aren't good at getting momentum. Like a lot of Death decks just can't play that card, but then Death Psyche can play it great. Air Kicks can play it great, especially if you discover Delta Kick. Or Active Treason's a great example. If you build a deck that's got 19 reversals in it or something, you're going to be able to play 4 of that card and turn it on virtually any time. You can play 2 on turn 1 and have a good shot of it.
Yeah.
Other decks might play 4 reversals and play only 1 copy of it, and it'll be a late game trump. The same way a lot of decks play the Kim, like discard a card, commit a thing. That's another card that I think it's got a commit cost, but it's got a secret cost where you have to find a way to discard a card for it. I think that's really good. Because not every deck can play these cards.
Yeah, I definitely would just caution design going forward not to make exciting cards by making them free. Because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
If you want to do exciting things, do things like Trinity Geyser. That excites the shit out of people.
I'm fine with that card.
I mean, you pay a cost, you play an attack and 2 foundations, and then hope you don't get revoked or caught red-handed.
Yeah, I think playing around with combo more in general would be a nice thing. Like make these awesome combos. They're either difficult to achieve, or maybe have different zones or keywords that aren't being used in the meta.
Mm-hmm.
Like kicks are all over the place right now. There should be no combo keyword with kick anytime soon, I think.
That's
none.
There's kind of a balancing act,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I think the only deck I've actually seen that played more than 1 or 2 different combo keywords, combo conditions, was the Death Skullman deck that actually secretly managed to line up a whole bunch of things with Shield Ram and Alex Slam and Nero Fatica and Finel Rosso.
Yeah.
Were all different, but they were all satisfied in a lot of different ways within themselves. And what really happens is that you either have an on-rails deck where I design it for you, and then you just play whatever I design for you, or else the cards just don't fit together. Like a lot of Jada's cards really just don't see a lot of play because they're kind of weird and confusing and demand that you go crazy and don't really pay you off for it.
Play reversal,
and I think that having
a not reversal and
having a payoff is really important. And maybe that's the flaw with Jada, is that the payoff isn't clear. Trinity Geyser is a really clear payoff, and it says, "Hey, jump through these hoops," and then it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to get a treat at the end because your owner made you jump through the hoops at the dog show. You want to jump through the hoops.
I think part of the issue might be just because we've had Mega Man has been a big thing for the past few sets, and it's a lot of ranged. And then slam was added in as a new keyword. And then you have, so that makes it so you limit yourself a little bit with just doing all these ranged and stuff, because there's not too many combos with zones lately. So it's just been either ranged or slam. And then with Felicia's stuff, the best cards happen to all be kicks. And we just happen to have a character from King of Fighters, a couple characters that wanted kicks.
I'm not saying that the air kicks deck isn't something that we don't want to give more tools or anything. Mm-hmm. But like if this card had kick instead of weapon on Chaos, Earth, and Fire, like it'd have been a nice tool for Earth King. Because no one plays Earth King. That's fine.
Oh, man.
I don't know. It's keywords, I think, are just a simple thing that should be looked at a little bit more carefully.
Yeah.
Like, there's design space just by slapping on a keyword. That I don't think is explored enough.
There's a danger in slapping things on, I think. I mean, I think that's really what we're talking about, is slapping on a costless ability and not really thinking it through. I think you can really craft an ecosystem that's really interesting and fun to explore. But you do need to think about it a little bit.
Yeah, like, I'm just looking at, like, my example of Swordman with this card. If they just randomly slapped weapon onto this could have just be really strong with Swordman stuff once we see everything.
Well, I mean, I designed UFS for a little while. I can tell you guys, UFS is extremely complicated to design because there's a shitload of moving parts, and especially with with design team changing, things like this are going to happen where people design cards and don't realize that things are going to be super good with them. I mean, the Mega Man set has been designed forever. And it's pretty easy to forget that you designed cards 2 years ago. And then you start making new things like, oh, no, that wasn't a good idea. So, talking about some design principles, costs, we talked about costs, try not to make things too exciting by having things be free. Another thing Kevin put in his notes here, and I'm just going to steal them from you, Kevin, is having things that are one-sided or just too powerful.
Yeah, I feel like this card, just like my gut feel on this card is just that I like assets. I like that they're part of the game, and I like that they're different than foundations, and that they come out differently. But not, like a lot of assets were just made where we want to make sure that people are going to put this in their deck, and they just made it too good. And this card is a swing in the same direction. We want to make sure that people can kill those assets because they make the game unfun. And so if you're trying to play fair UFS, this game's fair UFS with assets, this card's gonna show up and poop in your cornflakes.
I still think there was a card from the second Soul Calibur set. It was an action.
Sealsbane.
Sealsbane. Just remove it, commit a foundation, remove it from the game, destroy an asset.
Attack an asset.
Like, they should have that instead of something on an attack like this.
Yeah.
It's fair, it's balanced, it's eating up your slots in some way because it's on an action.
You know what I'd love to see on a card like this? I'm thinking of a Elect Man, or actually I'm thinking of Magnet Man, and then being like, Magnet Man's the same as Elect Man, it's the same person. What if there was a card that said, if you have 2 or more distinct attack zones in your card pool, destroy 2 assets? So something simple like that. All it has to be is just like a little hoop to jump through, a little bit less, just here's my first form, I'm going to ruin your game plan, and I'm going to go about my day. Or 3 attack zones, whatever. Yeah. It'd be, a card like a...
Or at the very least, even this being combo. That's basically what you would also want at this point.
Yeah.
If it was a combo we use.
Combo keyword, give or take. Or,
what I would have really liked as a cost
Kim's Rare Kick. I wish that card, the combo and the E were flipped. Because it ruins game plans, it destroys your opponent's entire momentum, gets a huge damage bonus for free.
Yep.
And then you can combo it for a speed bonus.
I would have really liked if this card, Spine Sweep, maybe had a cost that was kind of symmetrical, like you destroy an asset and that as a cost, and then you destroy 2 of theirs.
That'd be sweet.
So that you two would also have to play assets in order to make this work. Because I'm just remembering when Necro Driver came out, unless you were playing champ cards, you just didn't play assets.
Yeah, there were assets.
And I worry that we're going to go to a point where you just don't play assets again because of this card. Because it's not like, okay, my deck relies on 3 assets, and I get Spinning Necro Driver, I lose one. Well, I only lose part of my game plan. This thing can just wipe anybody out.
Yeah, I actually remember because Jack was Spinning Necro Driver. Might as well just be just as same as playing this card with anyone else, because he can loop and keep on picking them up. Anytime I played against someone, even if they were playing Lion Stance, the best asset there is, they would just immediately sideboard every single asset out. Game 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just for anything else. Like, I never had to worry about assets most of the time.
And there's just so many assets that aren't good enough to run into this card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a damn shame.
General Action says this card is basically willful, which was, I believe, after it's discarded from your hand, your opponent discards their hand. Maybe no, that's not what it was.
Let me pull it up. Continue with something.
It was an anti-discard effect from the Shadow War set, as opposed to the ones from way back when it was like
Blood Run's True card.
Oh no, you're right.
After you fail a control check that was modified by your opponent, that check is successful instead. Discard this from your card pool and draw 1 card.
Yeah, so if they BRT you, they even -1 you, then you just say, well, thanks for the help. I'm going to draw a card and replace this action. And there were a whole lot of cards that were like that were designed in that were inserted into that Shadow War Soul Calibur set to try to save the metagame from BRT.
There was a couple older actions like that too back then, like Dodge Step.
Oh yeah, there was. Well, Dodge Step was anti-discard.
Yeah.
And there was like Gelford's Scarf, I think, that said like BRT's completely turned off.
Yeah.
And
Ayami's Scarf, gosh.
Yeah, opposite end of the spectrum in that it's a very reactive card and it's very like you can't play willful unless you're gonna play against a deck that's gonna hack your checks. This card is like passable. It's just really mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want your attacks to be like Hyper Bomb, which is kind of like a 5-speed that draws you a card and blows up Foundation sometimes.
Well, you know, if we're gonna make cards
it's not satisfying
that do fun tricks like this, let's put them in like character sport. Make you have to do something fun with your character's theme. A card that comes to mind for me is Intelligent and Shrewd.
Yeah, Intelligent and Shrewd's a great Foundation answer. It's super fair. And it does this weird thing where you get to peek at your momentum so that Snake Man can know where he's at, what he's going to swap with. And then if you have a Foundation in your momentum, which was a bigger deal before we had Strength of Tail, but you know it's a Snake Man thing, you can destroy it and pitch one of those Foundation momentum, and you get to flip a problem. So that's not a good rate. You're destroying Foundation, you're paying momentum, but it is on a 1 difficulty Foundation, it's just on a spam. Like, people play Carefree, people play Basic Training. Like, spams don't have to have like, big, flashy effects. And this thing, like, Intelligent Pursuit has a steep cost, it fits with your character, and it fixes a problem.
Well, the problem is we can't keep printing cards that do things on a rate that's not reasonable.
Yeah.
Intelligent and Shrewd might be a little steeply costed, but I think things that are more steeply costed are better than things that are just free.
Yeah, I think on top of that, the other problem was it's a 1/5 spam without any kind of block with a steep cost. Like, it's pushing itself into really bad card.
Well, I'm inclined to believe we print too many blocks on Foundations anyhow.
Maybe.
I like to see,
like, even if it's a really bad block.
Dude, Intelligent Pursuit's great. Like, your opponent has Kapoken Training, and it's an answer for Kapoken Training. It's an answer for whatever ails you.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a cost that you have to pay. I mean, like, a lot of cards are worth more than Destroy Foundation, Discard Momentum in the right kind of situation.
Yeah. Well,
flipping Dimitri's Shopaholic so we can't keep hard-handed looping you. You know, that's going to be worth a whole lot.
Well, I remember I ran there's some mediocre cards that I've ran for similar effects. I remember in my deck I would run Team Women Fighters, so I can deal with the Kapoken Training, so I can deal with whatever's bothering me at the time. But now, and it wasn't a terribly good rate. You had to run an asset that's really all it did. I mean, it had a second ability where you could look at the top card of your deck if you gained life, which on my team is kind of cool, but that card now just isn't good enough.
Yeah, I remember a while ago when we had the Total Justice Heroes game show, where the combined show, we talked to Jason, and I said, I wish we had cards like Descent. It's a 3 difficulty foundation that doesn't do much, but it trades 1-for-1 with an asset, and it's a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to play that. It's not like Cataclysmic Force, which solves problems, but it does it in an incredible, like, meta-defining way. It's very powerful. It's very high rate, very good rate, I meant to say.
Mm-hmm.
And Descent does not. Descent, I mean, it's 1 more difficulty and it's an enhanced destroy, so it's not even that much worse, honestly. But like barely anyone wants to play that card, whereas Cat Force is an instant 4 of. If you give us bad tools that solve problems, then like the person who builds the better deck and who finds the right tool for the job when you need it, I think that's the better game design.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with the spine sweep, we have a problem that you can take care of with a scalpel, with a Descent, but we're going to use a battering ram instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to give you a rocket launcher.
So
if like we're playing like we're knife fighting like in the Resident Evil series, they have all those cool cutscenes, the knife fights. But if you show up with a knife that's too big, they're gonna print a rocket launcher for the other guys. That's how this gotta make me feel, and I think that's not good design.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of things that are not going to be very good anymore, Kevin, tell us about your top 5 tonight.
So my top 5 for this week is going to be the top 5 assets you won't play anymore because of Spine Sweep. Just assets that have incremental effects, that are a bit too conditional or whatever, that have like good gameplay, but they're just not good enough anymore. They're just gonna you don't want to show up and get hated out by cards like Spine Sweep and Necro Driver. So number 5, we have Team Ikari Warriors. I play this card. It basically only has one ability, which is F commit draw card, only playable if you played an attack. And so that's like, no one likes this card. But if you ever played Contacting Hydern, most people activated that ability every single turn of the game once it was in play. And it was a staple. Like, people would play 3 and 4 copies of this unique foundation, just turn it sideways at the start of every turn and get an extra card. And I think this card has had a bad rap. This card has been drastically underplayed because it's got a lot of irrelevant text on it that make people look at past commit draw card. And I really appreciate this card in Ashes Athena.
Ugh.
It doesn't need to have a block if you're just going to play it.
It doesn't roll a block. At least Team Women Fighters has a block.
It's got 2 mid. Dude, no, it doesn't. Shut up. 2 mid block isn't a block.
It's a block.
It's a block?
It's not as simple as Templar and Hurricane. Are you kidding?
Have you ever blocked with a superhero?
No.
That's a 2 block.
Never.
No.
And also, that's another card you could play instead. And I think this card actually should have been either Grandmother's Hairpin or Superhero Know-How. Those are honorable mentions that should have been in 5th place here. Because those cards are really cool. They're just really not huge effects on the game, and getting like that blown up is just not worth your time anymore.
Hey, at least with Superhero Know-How, you can turn into a foundation before it gets spine sweeped.
Hopefully. So let's go to number 4.
Number 4.
Sawblades, my favorite asset on here.
Yeah, I love this card, but I'm ready to side these out a lot. I'm still going to play it because you still really want to break down some walls in late game. But it doesn't help against Dimitri. Like all the wall decks are playing throws anyway, so maybe not. Maybe it's just Necro Driver making this card worse even.
Well, this thing's a 4 difficulty brick now if your opponent's playing Spine Sweep.
Yeah, imagine like committing a foundation to pass your 4 diff asset on your turn, and then you play another asset, and then your opponent just sweeps them away. They pay 5 difficulty, and they counter like your 6 difficulty that you paid for, and 2 cards, and you have to block. It's just devastating.
Like, at least it's still got the +1 high block. Like, that's a really solid block. So if you're playing a deck that doesn't have those high blocks,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
but it's not going to help against Spine Sweep.
yeah, unfortunately, Spine Sweep's a low. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I got him covered. Gonna block this eye attack that's coming in.
Spine Sweep. Oh. Still screwed.
Number 3.
Rip.
Boop.
Kien. See, I love this card. I want a reversal Kersplat with this. I want a reversal like aerial ring boomerang. I want to just like play a bunch of weapon attacks on my turn, stun them. It might be a coincidence that a lot of these have void, and I played a lot of these in Ashes Athena. And if you're not Ashes Athena, though, I don't think you can afford to play these anymore. Because people are going to show up wanting to destroy Ashes Athena, wanting to ruin my day, and they're going to ruin your day on accident.
Yeah. Anybody who...
this card just...
I mean, people who aren't playing like the super powerful assets or aren't playing a ton of them, they're collateral damage now.
Yeah. I think Team Japan, like I see the 6-check, and I remember Team Japan. I played Team Japan in a Goro deck last week. I had a ton of fun with that card. It's awesome in Goro.
Collateral
damage.
I have an idea
of
what I want to do now. I want to take spine sweeps, and put speech bubbles on Marathi coming out, and they're all just being insults to you or Assets Athena.
Tell me you'll say these nuts.
We're making it happen. We're making this happen.
Let's move up to number 2.
Because I got a golden ticket.
The golden ticket.
This is another card where like it almost works like a foundation. If you're willing to attack your opponent, it gives you a foundation for that check, and it gives you a opponent for your next check, and your next check, and all your checks that turn. And it's only offense. It's only good if you actually are attacking. It does this other effect that's cool. Just like a foundation has 2 abilities. Like Ever Hopeful has Attitude Staging or plus bounce a thing. It's foundation.
The difference is this one is a low block.
This one is a low block. I'll give you that. So that's better.
You can hold it against your opponent's spine sweeps.
And I guess I've always been a little bit more down on this kind of effect than a lot of people like. I didn't think Community of the Ancients was terribly great, but people were like instant 4 of that card. So I don't know. But basically, my thought is that if you need this card to work, even to make your deck succeed, like to actually play on an attack string, you're going to be completely screwed when your opponent spine sweeps it or you don't draw it. And so now just this little incremental advantage to help you out with your attack string just isn't going to fly at all. And plus, again, higher difficulty means you get blown out even more when your opponent destroys 2 of them for free.
And number 1, Kevin Broberg.
All right, number 1. What was number 1?
Kyo's Jacket.
Kyo's Jacket.
I've grown to love this card. Like, again, it's... people play cards like Strength of Tail and Reactive Style, and you can't always trigger this card, and when you can't, it doesn't do anything, basically. But when it does, it gives you momentum. It gives you the effect from that kind of effect, and it just commits. You can untap it next turn and use it again, plus it commits your opponent's board out. It answers something. This card, I really like the design of this card. It's really powerful, but it's not, like, as far as I know, Garrett Brett was the only person who played this card for, like, 2 years. And then Snake Man came out and people put it in Snake Man. And then I started playing with it, and I'm like, holy crap, where is this, where I can't even talk anymore. It's too good.
Got a little excited there?
Where has this been all my life? It's been sitting right in front of me.
It's been in those ruler time boxes.
I know.
That you don't open.
Which we still have for sale at RochesterCCG.com.
Yeah, buy this card. Buy Maximal Laser. Buy K-Dash. K-Dash is great.
Alrighty, so I think to be said about this list is that, you could still play assets, but there are a lot of assets now that were, kind of fringe playable that I think will no longer be playable at all as a result.
Yeah, I left off, like Hanya isn't on this list for a good reason, because you still just put Hanya in play.
The payoff's so good.
If your opponent doesn't draw Spine Sweep, your opponent, you revoke your opponent's Spinning Necro Driver, it's great. It's really great.
Yeah, but the payoff on some of the cards on this list isn't high enough to take a chance on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these cards are fair. They're as good as a 2 difficulty card should be. Instead of committing to pass a control check, which is a very known quantity for what your effect is, what your payoff is, they do something different. And it's about as good as what you get out of the normal foundation of that cost, I think. But now they have the additional cost of being the wrong color.
All right, guys, let's wrap this up because we got Joe Tonello's mystery announcement here coming up in 6 minutes. Let's talk about our upcoming events. The next major is the Poughkeepsie PTC, March 12th to 13th at the Dragon's Den in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Less than 2 weeks away, baby.
Less than 2 weeks away. I know all of us will be there. Woohoo!
I'm going to take you down, Kevin.
Great.
I'm going to deny you like 2 points.
I'm proud of you.
Make it so that way Piglet can win.
After that is a week later is the Little Rock PTC at Imagine Games in Little Rock, Arkansas. I guess that state's down near Texas and near Omaha-ish and near Georgia. So I think there'll be a pretty good turnout for that event.
If you can find the Little Rock, I mean, I think there's a lot of big rocks out in the Midwest, but it's a pretty big space. So you have to find like the littlest rock. It's pretty hard.
Little Rock was picked up by a tornado and carried off.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Las Vegas PTC, April 9th and 10th at a Gamer's Paradise in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. They've got a good-sized play group out there on their own. They probably don't even need any out-of-towners to meet the 20% minimum.
I wonder what the turnout will actually end up being. I wonder if they'll like 20. It's probably pretty bad numbers.
We have
low chance of that.
We've got the Omaha PTC, April 30th to May 1st at Mythic Affinity in Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha is a pretty strong play group. They've had some really good showings lately, led by Miles.
I think aren't they all in the top 13 of the standings?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Kevin Broberg, you should fly out there and take their lunch money.
I guess so. You gotta protect the. That's what I'm looking for here.
You gotta protect
the crown.
Your rating.
Yeah.
So those fools out in Las Vegas, they're lucky. They get 2 majors in 2 months out there. May 14th to 15th is the Las Vegas 2K, sponsored by Rochester CCG at Level Up Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's getting
just in time to recover from the hangover from the first one.
There's another. It's getting towards time that folks who are planning on going should think about looking at flights. It's just over 2 months out at this point. I know I'm going to be there. Kevin Broberg, you're going to fly in. Jesse from Total Justice Gaming, he's going to be driving out with me on the long haul. So get there. Hughes, you probably won't go.
Don't really have the money for it.
No,
that's the problem.
Too bad. And then last thing we're going to cover on our schedule is the Winnipeg PTC, May 21st to 22nd at Amusing Games in Winnipeg, Canada. Real briefly, speaking of Canada, they had a PTC last week up in Thunder Bay. Doesn't look like we have any coverage for it. I spoke to Jason briefly earlier. He said 8 people came to that PTC, which unfortunately is a damn shame. But yep. Thunder Bay, for those of you who aren't familiar, if you look at the Great Lakes, Lake Superior looks like a doggy. Thunder Bay is like on the dog's nose. There is nothing nearby there. Except for moose.
It's too bad, because the one ticket out, it's not probably going out. Anyone.
So, that wraps up pretty much everything here for this week, unless you guys have any final thoughts.
No. I don't have anything. Kevin?
Glad we got new promos.
That's exciting. Last couple announcements as far as Rochester CCG goes. We are still taking pre-orders for the new UFS set, The World of Indies. We just got in stock for people who play Dragon Ball Z. We just got the new set in stock, Perfection. We've got singles listed up on the website. Please buy them. I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for supporting us with UFS and all of our other endeavors.
Speaking of buying, Rochester CCG always has a buy list who will buy all your cards. Sell us your assets that are now unplayable because of Spine Sweep.
You get a 20% bonus if you get store credit.
Will you buy my Vimana?
Your what?
My Vimana.
No. Just cover my face with that.
Okay.
That card needs a Spine Sweep to take care of it. That card is disgustingly good.
It's like Iori's guitar, but better.
Yeah, but doesn't commit.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Call tonight. For those, switch over to Total Justice Gaming to hear Joe Tonello's big announcement. Good night.
Night, folks.